Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and this is Premier League predictions Game Week 3. Before we get into my Game Week 3 predictions, let's take a look at what happened last week. So I actually killed it with the predictions. I got 3 scores right, which is basically unheard of. Like, that's really crazy, you guys. I got Brighton versus Manchester United, as well as Southampton versus Nottingham Forest and Fulham versus Leicester City. So I can't believe it. I have done a little bit of an update to the scoring because it was just getting very high scoring very fast. So now if you get the right score, it's going to be worth 3 points, and if you get the right outcome, it's going to be worth 1 point. I took out that bit of getting the right number of goals because it was just getting confusing with the chat. So game week 1, of those points are gifted, but game week 2 onwards, it is now adjusted. So I was able to get a total of 14 points in game week 2 for an overall score of 35, and the chat got 17 points. I want to shout out some of the people who commented who got their predictions correct. So Diamond commented and got the Brighton versus Manchester United fixture correct. Well done. Shivai got the Crystal Palace versus West Ham and Liverpool versus Brentford games correct. And El Nadi got the Fulham versus Leicester game correct. So shout out to you guys for commenting and winning points for the chat. Make sure to comment your score predictions down below, so maybe next week you can be featured in this video amongst some of the people that got your scores correct. So now let's take a look at game week 3. First up, big game, Arsenal versus Brighton. They're both coming off of big wins at last weekend. So Arsenal beat Aston Villa 2-0, and David Raya produced one of the saves of the season in an Ollie Watkins attempt that was ridiculous. And then Brighton pulled one over on Manchester United, beating them 2-1. United had scored a second goal, but it was ruled offside because Xerxes tapped in Garnacho's shot in an offside position, so it was ruled out, and Brighton were able to take all 3 points. So I do think that this is going to be a very tough, tight game because both of these teams have started the league in good form. Arsenal had one of the best defenses in the league last season, and ultimately they're going to be looking to finally win the Premier League title after challenging Man City quite closely over the past couple of seasons. These are the types of games that they really do need to win. They're playing at home. They really need to get all 3 points. So I'm going for a 2-0 Arsenal win. Next up, we have Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. Forest will be looking to continue their unbeaten run in the Premier League with former Wolves manager Nuno Espirito Santo. They will also want to bounce back after their EFL Cup midweek exit, where they lost on penalties to Newcastle. Player to look out for from the side is Morgan Gibbs-White. He's created 6 open play chances so far in the Premier League, which is the second amongst all players, only behind Luis Diaz from Liverpool, who has 7. Wolves are yet to get any points on the board so far this season after a 6-2 thrashing versus Chelsea last weekend, but they were able to progress to the next round of the EFL Cup after a win midweek versus Burnley. A player to watch out for, I feel like I'm saying this every week, is Matheus Cunha. I really was impressed with what I saw versus Chelsea, and he has 17 goal involvements in his last 19 Premier League starts for Wolves. And on top of that, he scored 3 goals in 3 appearances versus Forest. He loves scoring versus Forest almost as much as he loves scoring versus Chelsea. Forest have won just 1 out of their last 11 Premier League games versus Wolves, but Wolves have lost their last 5 Premier League games, conceding 18 goals in the process. So I do feel like this one is probably going to be tight, but I am edging it towards Nottingham Forest, so I'm going for a 2-1 Forest win. Leicester City versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa suffered their first Premier League defeat last weekend and will be looking to bounce back. Meanwhile, Leicester City had a dominant 4-0 display midweek versus a League 2 team, and definitely watch out for Jamie Vardy. He scored 98 Premier League goals at the King Power Stadium so far, and he's going to be looking to make that number 100. Meanwhile, for Aston Villa, Emery has stated that Aston Villa will do everything in their power to reach at least top 6 this season. Star Ollie Watkins has been on a bit of a goal drought, having not scored in his last 7 appearances. The most that he's ever had is an 8-game drought, and he did have 2 really good chances versus Arsenal, but he was unable to put the ball in the back of the net. Something that's really interesting is that Leicester have actually only lost 7 of 28 Premier League games versus Aston Villa, which is a really good record actually, but they've been having a lot of trouble with their defense. They've kept just 1 clean sheet in their last 25 games in the Premier League. Ultimately, I do think that Aston Villa win this game, so I'm going for a 3-1 Villa win. Ipswich Town versus Fulham. Fulham boss Marco Silva said that he does expect a difficult game for this fixture and that he's been extremely impressed with Ipswich, how they've been able to go promoted from League 1 to the Championship and then from the Championship to the Premier League, and that is super, super impressive. Ipswich's manager McKenna made 10 changes to his side midweek in the EFL Cup, which saw them get knocked out to League 2 side AFC Wimbledon. And while they were upset to get knocked out, he said that it was clear where Ipswich Town's priorities lie, and those are with the Premier League and staying up. A player to watch out for is Sam Somatic, who netted his first goal versus City last weekend. Fulham have 3 points from their opening 2 games in the Premier League this season. Definitely watch out for Andres Pereira, who's created 13 chances in the Premier League so far this season, 6 more than any other player. While maybe this could be a tight game, I'm not predicting such a tight scoreline. I'm going for a 3-0 Fulham win. Next up, we have Brentford versus Southampton. At the time of recording this, Ivan Toney is linked with a move away, could be joining the Saudi Pro League. Guess we'll know by the time that this comes out. Currently undergoing a medical, but as we know on transfer deadline day, anything can happen and anything is possible. But it has looked like Brentford have struggled a little bit in front of goal without him up front for them. In Thomas Frank's press conference, he spoke about how capable Southampton are and how they're going to pose a massive challenge for them in order to win the game. Watch out for Wissa, because in 7 home Premier League games, he's been involved in 6 goals. Southampton got their first win of the season in the EFL Cup midweek versus Cardiff City. Brentford have won their last 3 Premier League games versus Southampton without conceding, so I'm going for more of the same. I'm predicting a 2-0 Brentford win. Everton versus Bournemouth. So this is an absolutely crazy stat. Everton have lost both of their opening 2 Premier League fixtures by an aggregate score of 7-0. Meanwhile, Bournemouth are still looking for their first win of their Premier League campaign after having 2 draws in the opening 2 games. Keep an eye out for Antoine Semenyo, who's had 5 shots and 3 chances created so far this season. So this stat is really interesting. Everton have won 6 out of their 7 Premier League home games versus Bournemouth, but Sean Dyche has never won a game in August with Everton, which is just insane. What? And they haven't scored a goal during that period either. I think this one is going to be really tough, so I'm going for a 1-1 draw. And we have West Ham versus Man City. West Ham got their first win of the Premier League campaign under their belts after beating Crystal Palace 2-0. Keep an eye out for Mikel Antonio, who's currently has 99 goal score for West Ham in the Premier League and is going to be looking to make that 100. Meanwhile, for Man City last weekend, they had an early shot going behind versus Ipswich Town, but there was never a doubt that they would come back, and then they proceeded to score 3 goals in 4 minutes just to put the nail in the coffin in that game. I'm honestly surprised that that game ended 4-1. I thought that it was going to have a much bigger scoreline. Haaland has scored 16 goals in 10 Premier League games in August, averaging a goal every 52 minutes, which just is not human. Man City haven't lost any of their 16 Premier League meetings versus West Ham under Pep Guardiola, and I can't expect that that's realistically going to stop now, so I'm going for a 3-1 City win. Next up, we have Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Chelsea stunned the football community last week, smashing Wolves 6-2 thanks to a Noni Madueke hat-trick and a hat-trick of assists for Cole Palmer. Could things finally be clicking for Chelsea? Time will tell. They had a shaky game midweek in the Europa Conference League versus Servette. They actually lost that game but went on to win on aggregate. There were a lot of changes to that Chelsea side as well, but it is a game that you would have expected them to win. They did leave it late but went through in the end. Chelsea are really looking like scoring a lot, but their defense is not looking as sturdy, so it's just going to be a matter, I think, of can they outscore their opponent. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace are still looking to get points on the border, on the table, after being handed 2 losses in their first 2 Premier League games of the season. Chelsea's last loss versus Crystal Palace dates all the way back to 2017, so the odds are definitely in their favor. They will definitely need to quiet the likes of Eze and Mateta, for example, though, if they want to ensure that they get all 3 points. I can definitely see a lot of goals being scored in this game. I honestly don't know what to expect from Chelsea after last weekend's performance and the midweek performance. Chelsea do create a lot, but they also have to make sure to convert those chances. So I'm going for a 3-1 Chelsea win, feeling cautiously optimistic about this one. Next, Newcastle versus Spurs. This is one of the games of the weekend that I'm really looking forward to as well. Shame it's on at the same time as the Chelsea game. And historically, this game has just been all over the place. In this fixture last season, Newcastle beat Spurs 4-0. Then in the reverse fixture, Spurs beat Newcastle 4-1. So I really feel like this is a tale of anything can happen. Newcastle haven't been quite looking like themselves. They do have a lot of injuries at the moment. Fabian Schär is missing this game through suspension as well. Spurs look good last weekend versus Everton, put 4 past them. Son got a brace. So I really don't know which way this is going to go. Like Newcastle could smash Spurs. Spurs could smash Newcastle. We could have a massive tie. We could have a 0-0. Like, I just don't know. So I'm going to go for a fairly high scoring game. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. The only thing holding me back, I would normally lean maybe towards Spurs winning this game, but the thing holding me back is that Newcastle are playing at home. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, this one is a tough one, and I'm excited to see what happens. And then finally, last game of this weekend, Man United versus Liverpool. As I said before, Man United fell to a late loss versus Brighton, losing 2-1, and Liverpool have gotten their campaign off to a solid start, being one of only 4 teams to have 2 wins. They had 2-2-0 wins so far this season under Slot. It is a tough game for Liverpool, as I do feel that Manchester United tend to turn on at Old Trafford, but I do feel like they are inconsistent. I just never know which United is going to show up. I never know like who's going to be scoring the goals, like if they're going to be scoring, and I just feel like Liverpool have a little bit more firepower, but that combined with United typically showing up, like, I just don't know. So I'm going for a 2-1 Liverpool win. I do think that they're going to be like sneaky title contenders this season, so I think that they might sneak the 3 points on this one. But again, it's a really tight one. So those are all of my predictions. Let me know what you think of them in the comments down below. And make sure, don't forget to comment all of your predictions as well, because you could be winning points for the chat in this little game that we have. If you like this video, make sure to drop it a like, sub to the channel, interact, all that good stuff, because it really does help other people to find my channel, and I really, really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, especially because it's transfer deadline day, so anything can happen. Whatever time you're watching this, and until next time, I'm out. Bye!